Very interesting to see how quickly people can go to a fearful place when you talk about traveling with horses. And then you talk to the folks who've been traveling for a long time or been on the road or every summer do a lot of, maybe mountain riding. And so they do a lot of hauling. And as with anything, the more that you do it, the more adaptable you become, the more experience you have, the less overwhelmed you are by whatever may arise. And so I think it's very interesting that something that can seem so overwhelming for so many is actually, for most people, if they prepared as if they were, let's say, doing the 1,400-mile drive that I just did, in general with their horses and going, what are the skill sets that I would need as the human and that my horse would need in order to, we're going to say, uneventfully travel long distances, load in the trailer multiple times, unload in unfamiliar places, be stabled in different types of scenarios than maybe what the horse is familiar to, be adaptable to being tied out or introduced to other horses along the way, drinking and eating in different locations than what they're used to, or so on. I think our horses would be far more educated. I find that nowadays many horses' worlds have become very small. So because a majority of people who have horses are really pleasure riders, they don't have to do anything. They don't really have to go anywhere. They're not using their horse to accomplish a job or a task or so on. It's purely for the person's pleasure and whatever their riding interest may be. I find that for a lot of horses, they actually have a sort of disservice done to them because the human gets into a very familiar, stuck pattern. Now, whether that's out of convenience, whether that's out of time limitations, whether that's out of location or maybe seasonal and weather limitations, there's a lot of horses that can seem to be very compliant, can seem to be very willing and very reasonable in their interactions until the day in which we change the pattern. And so I was thinking about this as I was doing the haul with these horses, and this time the group of horses that I had, I was familiar with, but there are times that I take horses that I'm not familiar with. And so it's very interesting to see all of the different opportunities, and also especially with the horses that I'm not familiar with, their feedback, which is immediate and very clear and very honest, as far as how little it takes to change their world and create concerns. And unfortunately with horses, when they do get into a concerned or defensive or anticipative state, or they don't have the ability to think through scenarios and they have not learned how to be adaptable, many things can bother them, can trigger them, can cause fear or anxiety or fixation. And certainly when you're hauling with horses, that then could lead to issues with them drinking consistently, not eating well. Plus, you have to remember the whole time that the horse is in the trailer, they are walking. So it's not like when we're sitting in the vehicle and then we get out at a rest stop and we go, oh, I need to stretch my legs and move. With horses, they are moving the entire time that you're hauling. So it can be very physically draining on them. And then especially if they're not eating and drinking well because of mental anxieties or fears or whatever's going on, it can wind up making traveling very stressful. So I always try and remind people that even if never in your lifetime do you plan to move your horse across the country or do a 1,400-mile trip twice a year like I do, that if we still prioritized educating our horses to be adaptable, to be able to go to new locations and to be able to mentally think through things, to learn how to socialize with different horses and not like fall in love with the horse next to them and then become this nervous kind of buddy sour type of horse that I see so often, which really is reflecting the horse's insecurity. It has nothing to do with the buddy horse, but they're looking for that support. If we start to I'm going to say practice these things and creating a world where we ask and we present things and we set our horse up for success and being adaptable, by the time we do haul somewhere, even if it's only just 10 miles down the road to the vet or to the clinic or the competition or the new trail ride, our horse is going to mentally be far less anxious. And so physically, his behaviors are going to be far more reasonable, and it won't be overwhelming for him. It won't be overwhelming for us. And this is how we can build both of our confidences for having new experiences. But unfortunately, what I see is because people, like I said, have maybe limited time or limited access to different locations. Maybe they don't have a horse trailer, so they're stuck at a facility or whatever it may be. Even within that, they wind up creating these patterns of like the time of day, or maybe the location of where they catch the horse, how they catch the horse, where they lead the horse, where they tie up the horse, where they get on the horse, where they ride off, even to the point of like riding off in the same direction every single time they get on without even realizing it. It's just like becomes such a habitual sort of way of doing things that they don't think twice about it. And for a lot of folks, they're quite surprised at how little it takes to, I'm going to say, rock that horse's world, and not in a good way, when we make a subtle change to whatever it is that they may be expecting or anticipating. And then when that does happen, you know, we move the mounting block in a different place. We go to ride in the arena and there's a blanket hanging on the fence in a different place. Or who knows what it may be. Could be a variety of different things. Doesn't have to be some major event. Doesn't have to be some dramatic change or anything like that. And then people go, oh my gosh, my horse, why is he completely melting down? Like nothing's that different. It's the same blanket he sees all the time. It's just on the other side of the arena or in a different stall door, whatever. And the horse is acting like he's never seen it before. And people often are judging the horse, like, why are you doing that, stupid horse, as opposed to recognizing that they have created such a limitation in the interaction without actually asking the horse to think through scenarios, and instead focusing on the horse's physical compliance, that the horse does not have the ability to think through and adapt to new and different situations, however minor it may seem. And again, none of these things really seem to become apparent or that big a deal, or maybe even a problem, until the day that something changes and our sweet, compliant horse suddenly becomes a fire-breathing dragon, and we go, oh my gosh, I want nothing to do with him. Let me hurry up and get back to the stall or the pasture, turn him out, let him go. We'll just say it's a bad day and let's move on, and hopefully next time it'll be okay. As opposed to recognizing, wow, there's a whole lot of things that I've missed in our communication, maybe in the specificity, maybe in not segmenting, so having like too much kind of gray area communication that doesn't have meaning to the horse, or maybe the lack of communication and then suddenly imposing a strong opinion has created a defensiveness in the horse towards our communication. Whatever it may be, that we are not doing our horse a service by hoping